something in your eye. I don't know the rest of the words, so we'll just start the show today. Welcome, guys. This is the Ronnie and Markell Make a Podcast show. You are checking us out either on YouTube or listening to us in your ears. We're tickling your ears in podcast form or audio form. Here we are. This is going to be our TV segment where we dive into the latest and greatest in hot topics in TV. So, we're actually going to talk about some stuff that we've personally watched ourselves. The first thing we're going to talk about is Harley Quinn, episode 1. New
yes.
R-rated animated comedy that they have going on.
So. Had me at hello, basically.
You can check it out on the DC Universe app.
I feel like I was already a little biased in favor of this show. The simple fact that it's Kaylee Cuoco coming over from the Big Bang Theory. Yeah. So I was already like, I'm in, it's great, before I even saw it. But after watching the first, I think there's 2 episodes so far. I've only seen the first one.
Is there a second episode already?
I think there's a second one.
Oh, yeah, check it out. The first one dropped on December 6th.
Yeah.
Shout out to our sister. That was her birthday. And we got a chance to watch it. Scale of 1 to 10 so far.
So
the
far,
pilot episode?
9. Only because I give it a 9 out of 10 because the show is a lot different than what I thought it was going to be. Like, I thought this was going to be a show that just had Joker and Harley Quinn, and then it's her breaking away from him, and we were going to get some cameos from, like, Poison Ivy and all these other characters. But then I watched it, and I'm like, no, dude, these villains are like, everybody's just literally in the show. The Riddler, this person, that person. I'm like, oh, shit, and even Batman shows up. Spoiler, if you haven't seen it yet, I'm like, oh.
I liked it, too. I say I would match you in that grade and say I'd give it a 9, and for a similar reason, which is basically what they're doing from a very simple standpoint. They're basically just taking the comic book of Harley Quinn, which is very popular and still continue to remain popular for DC Comics, and what they're doing is basically animating it, but they're taking it up a notch by basically going with some colorful words or some profanity and some suggestive themes.
A lot of profanity. This show is not for children. This show is not for children at all. This was made for grown-ups.
This is a grown-up show. Now, don't get me wrong. There's no like showing of nudity or anything that was in the first episode. Not in the pilot.
So far, because there is that scene where remember when Ivy keeps trying to tell her not to go back to the Joker, and then she goes back, and then she tells Ivy,
and they start kissing, and it's like you might want to leave. It's gonna get pretty nasty.
It's gonna get nasty fast. So I won't say it won't get. We don't have nudity in the future, but
Dave, you know what it is? It goes all the way back to there was another Harley Quinn. I feel like that was sort of the spark. I don't know if you saw, but there was a little animated series, not animated series, but an animated movie that they had starring Batman and Harley Quinn. There was an animated movie that they made. And there was a pretty interesting scene that I saw all over online before I even seen the movie, which is a scene where Nightwing gets captured, and she's captured by Harley Quinn.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a suggestion there, they don't show it, but that basically he gave in to her kind of like, taking advantage of her.
Oh, no, he did give in.
Yeah, he gave into it. And it's like...
Because it also reminds us as comic book readers, like, Harley Quinn is very attractive.
Yeah, so it's just like, no, don't do that. Okay, well. And then I remember in that same scene, it was like, when Batman finally showed up and they're sitting there and he thought that like she was torturing him, they were just literally sitting on the edge of the bed talking, and he like looked at him and judged him. He was like, don't you judge me. Like, all of those. Like Catwoman and all these other females that you... Talia, how many times has she like you've taken her home or something, and then all of a sudden, or even like Batman The Dark Knight Rises.
Oh yeah.
He's like all caught up and she just like stabs him.
It was...
Yeah, so...
But yeah, I like the series, the violence level, the profanity. Cool. Even as much profanity as it is, I still feel like it's not all over the top.
I counted. You get about 4 fucks and about 2 motherfuckers within the first, 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, alright, well, DC's gonna take it there, and
it's also are they the first ones to do this? Not like an animated rated R cartoon, but I mean like in this new stream of animated series that's coming out.
I would say they're first adopters to the game of doing this particular thing within the mainstream world. You certainly have had stuff like Spawn from HBO that was pretty dark and had, cuss words.
Because I'm thinking, don't we have, what is it, Howard the Duck coming? Is that the Kevin Smith show?
Yes, that's going to be on Hulu.
So I'm thinking that's probably going to be
You think Marvel's going to match them and do that?
I think that show's probably going to have a lot of dick and fart jokes and stuff like that, too.
Kevin Smith at the head of this.
That's what I'm thinking. It's probably going to have the dick and fart humor where it's going to be cursing and, and stuff. So,
suggestive themes.
So, so DC kind of got the jump a little bit.
I mean... There's not a lot of things that they get to jump on, so good for you, DC. Go get them.
That's what I said. They're turning things around. Things are definitely
don't
going
give them so much hope just yet.
I mean, come on.
Do it.
They've been on a good track record.
Good
job so far, guys.
Still talking about DC, but in the same realm. Warner Brothers is doing the Lord's work over on HBO. With Watchmen. We just watched episode 7. As we record this, tonight is going to be the last episode of this particular season. For episode 7, we're not going to spoil it for you, but there's a huge
almost religious awe. That's the name of that episode.
Absolutely, there is that I think that title goes very much so for the end of the episode. So stay fully through. And something else that you didn't check out yet is that there's something even after the credits. So check that out as well. So stay for the credits with these Watchmen series. There's after credit stuff there. Taking a page out of Marvel, and
do I have
DC
to go
stuff.
back and watch the end credits for any other episodes? I don't know.
I can see. I don't
know if they've been doing it, because a great thing they used to do in Game of Thrones was that after each episode they had the behind the thrones, where they had the writers and people talking about the episode and why they came up with the ideas. That would be great. But you know what? If Damon wants to throw all that on the first season, DVD or Blu-ray box set, I'm cool with that too.
I'm all for it. This episode definitely changes everything. If you've been watching along with the series and been checking it out, this one is definitely going to answer a lot of questions, but it's also going to flip you on your head. So you're really not expecting this.
Right from the gate with this show, I've been giving this a show a 10 out of 10 since the first episode for me. Cause
it's been a slow burn for me.
It's been touching on a lot of sensitive subjects that people don't like to talk about. And race, and as a black person, knowing where you come from. That has struck a chord even with my own self, thinking like, knowing where you come from. Because black people, especially in America, if someone walked up to you and said, "Oh, what's your background? Where do you come from?" Well, do you know other than like you were born in New Jersey and stuff like that?
Well, I'm sorry, but they didn't leave the receipt for us.
That's what I mean. So like this show definitely
no warranty,
has a big staple on. And then what do you call it? I'm terrible with names. Angela Abar's grandfather.
Wow, forgot his name.
Yeah, I forget too, but I have to look it up. But anyway, the pills that he's taking, the nostalgia pills.
Ooh.
Would you? There's a question for you. If those pills really existed, would you take those pills to go back in time to like go through to be another family member? No. Nope. Not even to.
I'm gonna answer that for you very simply. The fact that if you've seen that episode, you know what we were talking about. The fact of in time of which our history in America is, I'm good.
So you wouldn't even want to.
I'm good.
I don't know. For me,
I'm good.
I know.
Wait, now you're saying specific moments that you can go back to.
I can go back. I can take this pill and I can relive live events from some of my ancestors or whatever to see what was life actually like firsthand, in the 1920s or whatever.
I'm good.
Even if I know I'm gonna feel the pain and emotion they felt while I'm on this trip, would I do it just to experience? I don't know. I might actually be prone to do it.
Definitely, if you guys have your own thoughts, definitely leave a comment below or on one of our social media channels and let us know what you think of going back in time. No matter what nationality you are or ethnicity you can go back and see certain things. I just prefer not to. I don't think I have within me the patience nor the temperament to handle that. The strength people had
that they had to have during that time. Oh, Will Reeves was Louis Gossett Jr.'s character.
Like, think about that.
Like, I don't have that. I would die in 3 minutes.
And I know that was the episode. That was episode 6, but still kind of connects with 7. But
yeah,
like, she got to feel and see all the things. Like, it. You know, he was telling her about some of this stuff when they first met. But for her to go on that trip and actually feel and see what he went through to where he is now, I feel like it also helped her make a lot more sense of what's going on.
Of course. One thing I have to say about the show, going all the way up to 7, for me, being a Watchmen fan, what really got me hooked to say I'm gonna watch this every week was probably by like episode 4, so about halfway through this season. But that episode 6 was just, bar none, such a, I'll just call it what it was, a mind fuck in terms of like being able to walk in the shoes of somebody, especially somebody with that background, where it was illegal for you to be in a certain place, illegal for you to people to hate you because of who you were.
At one point, you got the shit beat out of him for arresting a white guy. That was his fucking job.
Yes.
He did his job and got his ass whooped for it.
Let's not wait. There's one thing that I give full credit to the director of that episode. The full credit of the fact that for the first time, I think in my entire life I've ever seen, I got a chance to see from a Watchmen show what it actually looks like from the eyes of somebody getting hung. Like, I've never been lynched. I've never seen that, but I've never seen it depicted. You could see, like, it looked like they put something over there, and you could hear the person trying to gasp for air, shaking their head. Like, that visual is just like, it just stuck with you so much. And then, again, episode 7, as we're talking about now, it just takes it to a whole nother level. But also another thing that I think got kind of glossed over is the fact that, like, people also didn't realize the fact that the character, the superhero that Louis Gossett Jr. was also gay.
The hooded, what was his name?
Hooded Justice?
Yeah.
Hooded Justice was also gay, because the superhero that he met up with, that got him out on, out there in the world, the next scene after they meet for the first time, they're getting it on, and I'm like, oh, okay. So they're exploring everything that has happened, from that period of time to now. So, again, kudos to the guys at HBO and people who are creating this series. You're doing the Lord's work, and I really appreciate what you're doing.
We gotta talk briefly about Judd Crawford's wife and that scene. With the Agent Blake.
Yes.
Where she was pressing a button, and it's like, what the hell are you doing? She even said that. Like, what the hell are you doing? And then it was like a trap door. Like,
there's a moment here where you find out that Don Johnson's wife in the show, spoilers, is actually a part of the Cavalry, the 7th Cavalry.
Which in turn means he was too. A part of it.
In essence, like, he was a part of it. That also was his grandfather's suit, but he was also trying to keep the peace between the, like, higher ups and the 7th Cavalry. So it was like, okay, the 7th Cavalry can operate in this town, and we operate and do the things that we do and keep justice the way we do in this small little town of Tulsa, Oklahoma. But from a bigger level, when noise starts happening and leaders start dying, that's when, bigger fish start to get involved.
Tell
with the
me
senator.
That wasn't scary as shit. The fact that watching that and knowing, even in 7, knowing that Crawford's wife was really with them, it made me think sort of like, what's that old movie with Roddy Piper?
They Live.
They Live?
Yeah.
Kind of like, you don't know, even in our own society today, you don't know who could secretly be hating against different things. It could be smiling on the surface, and it's just scary. That's why I think this show is such,
it's very timely,
eye-opener. Yeah, definitely.
But it also, the other thing I do enjoy about this is that it also not only begs the same things that have been brought up in Notions, but it also uses the superhero world, which that's what nerds like us have been doing for our entire lives, and now everybody else is kind of just coming into the fold and going, oh, you know what? comic books are actually cool. They can talk about subjects that may not be that comfortable for you to talk about, in person, but they can give you analogies that make you or bring up ideas.
Are you saying that people didn't always take comic book material seriously?
I mean,
you thought it was just funny pages for little kids?
It was what it was. It was something for kids to read. But once, they started to really... I know there's a lot of outside influences to that.
You know what's funny, just to talk about that for a second, I can remember that going all the way back to high school with people telling me, like, you read comics? Comics are for kids. I've been to Comic-Con like 9 years in a row, and I see a lot more adults than kids when I go to Comic-Con. So those people who say that probably have no fucking idea.
Those kids have grown up, and they've brought their kids and their kids and kids, and it continues on. But the point I was making was that I like the fact that this is an intelligent conversation or a healthy conversation, which is why, again, not to just jump onto race, but to bring it back home to comics and movies, it's really important for, them to use stuff like science and sci-fi and the comic realm to sort of go and have conversations about things and test notions, like the conversation we just had about, whether or not you would actually take those nostalgia pills. And, how would that be like? That's a whole new notion.
Are there a lot of other shows out there that put the subliminal message in your head, like, do you know much about yourself?
Yes, exactly. Start to make you question yourself. So it's not just a conversation with the people who are necessarily the victims of the situation, but also those victims, the people, the oppressors, but then also those victims. Both of them have questions to ask amongst themselves, as well as us, who are currently not necessarily living directly in those times. We're constantly looking at comics and movies and TVs about much worse times than there were. Like, there are bad things that are happening.
And even the relatability of certain characters, like Looking Glass. Like, how many people can relate to stuff like, oh yeah, does that bother you, Markell? No, I'm fine. But in your own personal life, that stuff actually does bother you, and you keep it bottled up for years because you don't want everyone to think you're different.
Yeah, you try to keep it peace. So, kudos once again to all of these series that we talked about that are, pushing the boundaries, not necessarily just on race or class or anything like that, but just having an intelligent conversation where you're left essentially with more adult morals. Yes, Harley Quinn is something for adults, but in essence, it also can be for maybe an older teen. Maybe I'd say in this day and age, that show could easily be for like a 14,
even that
15
show. Even that show literally is teaching you a lesson of stop standing behind someone else and be yourself. Do your own thing.
Yeah. Be your own kind of, hero in that sense.
That's if you notice, they're even doing that with the Harley Quinn movie with Margot Robbie. They're putting Harley out of the spotlight of the Joker. Hey, I'm a person too. I'm my own self. They're like, I'm not just him.
That's my only thing that I would say really cut the score down for me, because I feel like I'm gonna watch this series and I'll say DC has been prone to do this at times. But I will say that I believe that this show could potentially harm Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey if it's really good, because then that's a conversation. Let's say not everybody sees this. I get it. But a lot of DC fans are going to see it, and now you are basically giving fans something to compare to when the next thing is only like 6 months from now.
Oh, you mean like when I was saying before, when, I don't know if this is still a thing, but when they were talking about solo Jared Leto and solo Joaquin Phoenix, and I was like, but what if the Joaquin Phoenix one's extremely good?
Which it turned out to be really good. It's $1 billion Joker movie.
Yeah, I can see that. I think they can get away with it only because it's a cartoon. That's the only reason I think they can get away with it.
I hope you're right, but it just seems kind of weird, with them doing that. And I'm also looking forward to something that's coming out as we speak tonight. I'm looking forward to Crisis on Infinite Earth. That is tonight.
Oh, that's right.
And there's so many great things that are happening there.
And marketing wise, kudos to the DC for their marketing, because I honestly think that Harley Quinn coming out in December, right before the movie's supposed, it's literally just to make you think about the character right now.
Wait, what do you mean? Oh, you mean the new show?
Like the show? I know that's not the only purpose of the show, but putting it out right now is just genius, because Harley Quinn's already on your mind. Oh, and that is a movie.
Oh, okay.
That's
Well, you're
not
just
that far away.
you're technically taking the news cycle and going DC.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you know they do that a lot in Hollywood in general. It's like, oh,
well, you know who's the king of that? Disney.
Oh, yeah. Because they want to see, they kind of prep you for so if Jim Carrey has a big project coming out over here, it's just a coincidence he has this little indie movie that comes out 6 months before. But I feel like sometimes it's just prep work to make you let's just put this on your mind because we got something bigger coming down the line.
I hope you're right. Leaving DC land and going over to Marvel land or not necessarily Marvel, but Disneyland.
Disney.
No pun intended. We're going to talk a little bit about The Mandalorian Chapter 5, which...
You got to say it like, Mandalorian Chapter 5. Like him wearing the helmet.
Wait, what's their quote? I just had it in my head. This is the way.
This is the way.
This is the way.
So now we got This is the way, and I have spoken. So far. Keeping count. And we got Baby Yoda, so we got 3 things.
There is still a part of me that feels that this character is not Yoda.
Oh, well, I mean, we're just calling him that.
We're calling it Baby Yoda because it's like, he looks just like Yoda. He's got the brown clothes on. But there's a part of me that's still like, until you tell me it's Yoda, and I'll say the reason I feel that way is simply because all of the marketing and all of the toys that they're advertising for the end of December and early 2020 is calling him the child. And I know they don't want to ruin anything in the sense of letting you know that. But if he was Yoda, what's the point of burying the lead? Like, you don't have to bury the lead if you know, this is a younger version of Yoda.
Taking a page out of Game of Thrones, I know this probably isn't going to happen at all, but I think it would be hilarious if that Baby Yoda turned out to be a bad guy.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's what, yeah. It's just like you've been protecting this thing that's literally going to go on and become this dark.
And then, like, later on when he gets older, he's like, and he was what restarts the Empire. Like, oh, no.
You know what? That would be interesting. What if, this is just fan theories here for The Mandalorian, but what if, there's been theories about Emperor Palpatine having the ability to, like, pretty much pull a Voldemort and put his soul into something else. So what if he put himself in something younger, then he would obviously grow up as like this particular thing. Like he would, eventually grow up in that body, but it's still him. So it's very possible that like he could be literally protecting the Emperor. In some weird way. Or it could be what they did in Harry Potter, which is they had Horcrux, which is for anyone who's not familiar with Horcrux. Which if you're watching the show, you probably are. But Horcrux was basically they took Voldemort's soul, hit it, and it broke into 7 pieces, and he placed it in different things, a book, Harry Potter, you name it, whatever. So it's very possible that he's doing that. There's the same thing people are saying about he could possibly have done that with Rey. Rey could be a Horcrux in that way.
That would be hilarious.
It'd be interesting to see.
We know by the end of this season, there's going to be some type of twist. Not just gonna be like your basic, I think that I do think on another note, Jon Favreau must also be a huge Rocky fan because, like I was saying, there's so much like
tell him
Rocky influence in this show, and I said that before with the music, but even the last episode where they helped the I forget the name of the people, but when they help the people against the monsters that were trying to invade their land, and they're teaching them how to fight with the sticks and stuff. Even during that scene, there's a dun 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 dun, like a Rocky type montage.
But that's why I've said this time and time again. The person that we talked about last time was Oscar winner Ludwig Göransson. Ludwig Göransson has actually worked on Creed and worked on like different projects related to the Rocky universe, so it's no surprise that his themes sound very much Rocky-ish.
Yeah, I'm like, all this music is so Rocky-ish. Is Rocky that much of an influence in him when they first hired him for this that he was like, it's definitely getting a Rocky type.
I think that it just works really well for any kind of montage. If you really think about it, like any kind of I'm building something montage, like. Let's say you can take that same music, because ironically for the last week I have been doing nothing but listening to a lot of Ludwig's music, and if you're not familiar with it, go on Apple Music or one of your streaming services if you have it, and just type this guy in, and you'll realize that he's worked on Creed 2, he's worked on Black Panther, he did Killmonger's theme. So this guy is very, for one, has worked with Michael B. Jordan on both capacities.
Sounds like we may have to get this guy on the show.
It would be lovely to get Ludwig
pick
on
his
here.
brain a little
Big
bit.
shout out. Come on, man. Come on over. We're waiting for you. But just going into that for a second, it does, the theme of the show, again, goes to the whole, like, samurai western thing. But what you're talking about in terms of those montages where you're building something, you know, or you're getting ready for a fight, or you're getting ready in training, those are just simple montages that are used in movies. It just so happens a guy who's worked on the Rocky stuff is using similar sounds that come from the Rocky world or other worlds that he's worked in.
How did you like the ending of the last episode where the bounty that they're collecting, she basically put it into... I'm like, this is where you give somebody an idea that they weren't even thinking of, when she literally tells the kid, the rookie guy...
Well, let's give him a little backstory.
I'm just about to say that.
The backstory on this episode, really quick, is Chapter 5, Mandalorian goes to a place and, you know, decides, as usual, he's
his ship. I think his ship gets shot out. His ship gets shot out of the
sky.
Bounty hunter that's
he kills the bounty hunter in space. So you get, like, first 5 minutes of a actual pretty cool space battle. Because this is Star Wars, basically.
He's like, dead, hot or cold, I'm bringing you in. And he kills the dude like, that's my line.
That was pretty cool. I love that. He goes on and he has to emergency land in this place. He goes to go take a bounty because he's a bounty hunter, and winds up off on this adventure where he meets up with
this like guy who's supposed to be a rookie.
He's
trying to get into the
guild. He's easily persuaded by Ming-Na Wen's character.
Like when that guy would have never came with me to begin with, because I just don't trust new people. I'd have been like, nope. He was
very gullible and probably would have died if he would have went after Ming-Na Wen's character. Spoilers. The Cavalry, aka Mulan, aka Chung Li. This lady has just been in everything. Big shout out to her. I'm a huge fan of hers. She shows up once again in the Disneyverse is what I'm going to call it, because she's appeared in Marvel.
She winds up being
all
the
over the place.
bounty that they're looking for.
Yeah, and something happens with her, which I'm not going to spoil for you. But at the same time, we get to a point where at the end of this, he's back going on, and a new person shows up and sees Ming-Na Wen's body at this point. And now we're off to the races of some new character. A new challenger has entered the field, so...
But they kind of showed us that scene in the bar when he decided to go against the Empire. And they showed all the little bounty hunters, little radar trackers going off. So I was like, I knew the rest of this season is probably going to be other bounty hunters coming after them, trying to kill them to get Baby Yoda.
Pretty much the survival. It's just kind of interesting to me that he is taking up. He doesn't really know about raising a kid or anything. Clearly he
left a fucking kid with the repair lady.
Or no, it wasn't even he left her with the repair lady. He just locked it. He put it in a little bassinet and then puts it away into a closet where it was closed off. So he's like, all right, if I just lock you in a closet,
you know what? Even though I saw him lift up a fucking 5,000-pound monster. You know what? He's safe in there.
Exactly. Opening up a small door is nothing. So, your score for The Mandalorian this week, sir?
Mandalorian is another one just like Watchmen. I'm gonna give it a 10 out of 10. I'm loving Watchmen. I'm loving Mandalorian.
I'm gonna give it I would give it a 10 out of 10 for me, just because of three things. One, cool space battle in the beginning. Two, I love the fact that Mandalorian, even when he's in the worst situations, still always has the upper hand. And three, and the top reason for me, is Ming-Na Wen.
I thought you were gonna say awesome. The catchphrase is "This is the way."
This is the way.
I had already had me going to work going, I have spoken. Now you got me this is the way. You're like, you want hot chocolate too? This is the way. So
Well, I guess this is the way. This is again, this is the way we do things. So it's this is how we do it. This is the way. With that said, we're gonna wrap up for our TV news. So stay tuned for more news coming your way from movies, comics, TV. From your boy Markell. I'm Markell as always.
And this is your fabulous, awesome, Ron Spectacular?
Your fabulous, awesome, spectacular.
Nah, that don't make sense. I'm Ronnie.
Alright. Tune in next time, guys.
What's up, guys?
Hey, thank you for watching the video.
Did you like it?
Did you?
You probably just like the parts of me in it.
You really like the parts of me.
But anyway, if you like that video, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button there.
And if you don't, we have a bag of kittens with a baseball bat. And if you don't subscribe,
wow,
you know what's gonna happen.
We're gonna leave those kittens alone because we don't want any problems.